Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link, and earlier today we had the new ViDoc for Destiny 2 Beyond Light go live. There was actually a little bit of confusion there since a lot of people assumed that Bungie was going to be going live on their Twitch channel or on their YouTube, the way they usually do when these ViDocs kind of come out. But that wasn't the case. They just put a video up on YouTube, and that video is what we are going to be covering today. There's a lot of brand new information that came out in this ViDoc, and we have got a lot of stuff to cover. Of course, as always, I always recommend that you go and watch the ViDoc itself. It's about 14 to 15 minutes long, and it is chock full of really cool behind-the-scenes information. We get to learn so much about how this game is put together, how the design team works, how the sound team puts together the awesome sound design in Destiny. Bet you never thought you'd know that a breast pump was used to make some of the audio in the game, but that's the kind of stuff you find out in these ViDocs. So make sure you go and watch it, then come back and hit this wrap-up video for everything in there. But alright, for those who are already acquainted with the video, let's go ahead and dive on into the ViDoc for Beyond Light. They start out by talking about the overall theme of Beyond Light. Players are going to be discovering the true nature of light and the dark. And as a part of that, of course, we are going to be interacting with not only the darkness itself, with the splinters and the pyramids and all of that kind of stuff, but with other individuals and NPCs in the game who are acquainted with the darkness itself. We already know Uldren is coming back. He's confirmed to be returning in this, and we'll be learning a bit more about that later. But of course, with our interaction with the new stasis powers, we as Guardians are going to be finally utilizing darkness in ways this franchise has really never seen before. And in here we get some great shots of Europa as well as the main trio of NPCs we'll be dealing with across the story of Beyond Light: Eris, the Drifter, and the Stranger, who we get to see fighting together for a little bit. Additionally, we get to see that Zavala and Osiris are going to be making some pretty big returns over the coming seasons as well, as they get to sit back and hang out with Cabal and talk about darkness and all that kind of stuff. Pretty interesting. But a lot of the beginning parts of the ViDoc show off Europa as a new world space. They describe it as being kind of like a time capsule of the Golden Age. We're going to see lots of stuff from Destiny lore here, including more Clovis Bray-based research facilities, and other stuff like the Ishtar Academy is going to be referenced as well. We do know that we'll be exploring, at least partially, some of the origins of the Exos, and we even get what looks to be an early shot of Guardians entering the raid. So for those of you out there who have been wondering about the Deep Stone Crypt for all these years, we might finally get some solid answers there. After that, they go on to talk a bit about the changing environment of Europa. Of course, we know it's going to have dynamic ice storms that can affect you and the enemies that you're going to be fighting. We get some great new shots of the new antagonist, Aramis, and her lieutenants, who will also be using stasis powers just like her, and it seems like it might kind of have a story set up similar to Forsaken, where we're kind of chasing this central enemy down. And it just seems like there's sort of a lot of parallels there. We get a nice new design of some of the Minotaurs as well. We see these Minotaurs can kind of change their shape to almost be sort of like harpies when they're attacking. After that, we get our first glimpse of the new stasis subclass UI in action. We know that they're going to be revamping the user interface quite a bit when this comes out. So here we get to see what that new stasis-based subclass UI is going to look like, and we also get a glimpse at some incoming stasis aspects and fragments for warlocks. The first of which is the stasis aspect, Ice Flare Bolts. Shattering frozen targets grants a small amount of grenade energy and spawns seekers that track and freeze other nearby targets. After that, we get to see Frost Pulse. Casting your rift generates a shockwave that freezes nearby combatants. And then we get to see that last part in action as the Warlock goes and drops the rift there and freezes everything around them. We also learn here that generally stasis aspects are going to provide more potent ability-based buffs, while fragments are going to be class agnostic, meaning you can use stasis fragments on whatever class you want, unlike the aspects, which are going to be, tailored to specific classes. And then we get a look at a couple of stasis fragments as well. First up, we've got a look at the Whisper of Hedrons. Gain a bonus to weapon damage after freezing a target with stasis. And then Whisper of Fissures increases the damage and size of the burst of stasis when you destroy a stasis crystal or defeat a frozen target. So those are two examples of class-agnostic stasis fragments that you'll be able to use on Titan, Warlock, or Hunter to make your abilities and stasis powers even more effective. Really interesting stuff there. After that, we get a look at some of the incoming exotic weapons, and we covered many of these in a previous video that Bungie put out. Or rather, I should say in a video we put out covering a video that Bungie put out, but we'll go over a few of the ones that they show here. First off, the pre-order bonus, No Time to Explain, which I do believe you get for pre-ordering like the deluxe edition of Beyond Light or anything above that. Of course, this comes with the ability of creating its own Arc Soul-esque buddy to help you fight enemies. That's the simplest way to explain what's going on there. You can kind of spawn a little buddy that will also fire at the enemies you're shooting at. After that, we get a look at the exotic sword Lament. This is the chainsaw sword. You use sword energy with this thing to create a new sword combo that ends in a chainsaw sword slash, and it's really effective against barrier champions. They also give us a quick look at some incoming exotic armor as well, like the Icefall Mantle for Titans. Of course, sacrifices your barricade ability but gives you an overshield instead, kind of allowing you to turn into an ice-shielded juggernaut really whenever your ability energy is up, which is, come on, all the time in Destiny 2. And then we get another quick look at the new incoming Warlock exotic gauntlets, the Necrotic Grip. Of course, these create a burst poison AoE with your melee attack that can spread to nearby enemies. You hit an enemy like a thrall and whatnot, it gets poisoned, it blows up in poison, and it spreads that poison to everything around it. Really interesting exotic. It's kind of like the Pestilence from Division 2. Now, of course, they revealed way more exotics than just this in that previous exotic trailer they put out a while back. If you guys missed the coverage on that, I'll have a link to it down in the description box below. But also worth noting at this part of the ViDoc is the fact that the footage they're showing off seems to be not only in the Cosmodrome, but in the general area that you run through when you're doing the Will of Crota strike. And of course, we know that with the return of the Cosmodrome, that strike is coming back, so it's very likely we're seeing them run through it right there. They do have a mission marker update saying that they're hunting down a hive named Nevada. So I wouldn't be too surprised if this is a reprised version of the Will of Crota that we're seeing right here. Really cool stuff. Can't wait to get back into the Cosmodrome when Beyond Light comes out. And speaking of the Cosmodrome, that's what the entire next section of the ViDoc is about. And oh man, does it feel good to see. It's like coming home, baby. Here, we get to see a bit more about how they're going to be revamping the new light experience for new Guardians. Of course, the new starting experience in D2 is going to start the same way it did back in Destiny 1. New Guardians will wake up in the Cosmodrome, they'll go through that initial mission, and they'll meet a brand new vendor and kind of new Guardian tutor in the form of Shah Han. We'll be covering him in just a second. But here we get all kinds of great shots of the Cosmodrome in action in all of its glory back in Destiny 2. We even get a great look at the map for it, the full map for what's available in the Cosmodrome, confirming that it is going to be a bit larger than it was back in D1 with a few new hidden goodies for us to enjoy. Expect a couple of lost sectors. But after that, they turn their attentions to the new tutor character, Shah Han. And surprise, surprise, he ain't Uldren, but he is going to serve as kind of like the liaison in the Cosmodrome for you newer Guardians. He'll have bounties and direct newer Guardians to the tower. Well, after they've completed a series of introductory missions, I guess, for him. Hopefully making that new light player experience a bit more illuminating than it was previously. You guys know I've complained about it before. The new light experience right now is awful. You do that first mission, you're thrown into the tower, and you're not told anything else. Not told where to go to start stories or any of that kind of stuff. So this is much better. Very happy that Bungie's making this change. But after they spend their time talking about the Cosmodrome, we learn more about an upcoming season of content titled The Season of the Hunt. And this one is going to be picking up right where Season of Arrivals left off. Xivu Arath, the Hive God of War, is picking up the mantle of main villain. Apparently, Xivu is dropping Hive cryptoglyphs all over the system, and they're driving things insane. These cryptoglyphs attract Elixnian Cabal and turn them into the soldiers of Xivu Arath, building her an army within our solar system that she can use to take over. But thankfully, we've got a Guardian who likes to see into the future quite a bit who's going to be helping us out. That's right, Osiris is going to be making his big return in the Season of the Hunt. And he's not coming alone. Uldren will be making his return as the Crow in Season of the Hunt as well. That's right, we're going all the way back to the forgotten Destiny 1 lore. For that season, we'll be teaming up with Osiris and the Crow to take down an enemy known as the Hive Celebrant, who is the one creating these Hive cryptoglyphs for Xivu Arath to build an army. And here we get plenty of scenes of Uldren, or rather the Crow, in action. We even get to see what it's going to be like when he waltzes right into the spider's lair alongside us. There's going to be some really interesting narrative threads that are pulled there. I cannot wait to see how he's going to interact not only with us, our Guardian, and our Ghost, but also people like Petravenge, the Spider, Osiris himself, and of course, the Vanguard. We already know that Zavala and Osiris are going to be hanging out and, chatting it up with Cabal about what to do about the darkness. What happens when we tell him, hey, we found Uldren. He's a Guardian now who doesn't remember what he did. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait for this story thread to move forward. Especially with us basically playing babysitter to Uldren and teaching him how to be a Guardian. Oh my goodness, I cannot wait to play through all of that. And of course, Xivu Arath, of course, is revealed here to be working alongside her sister Savathun, the Witch Queen, who has been setting up dominoes for quite some time. And of course, in year 4, those dominoes are all coming down and her plan will go into full action. There is certainly a lot of stuff to talk about in this ViDoc, but that's some of the biggest bits of news that I could glean from the video itself. We got to see a lot of brand new information, and I gotta say, it's got me really excited to jump back into Destiny 2 on November 10th when Beyond Light goes live. But there we go, Guardians. That's pretty much everything I can think of that came from the ViDoc. If there's any more cool stuff, be sure to bring it up down in the comment section below. What was your favorite thing? What did you learn from this video? What do you like seeing? What are you looking forward to? Be sure to let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But I'm out for now. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians stay frosty, and we'll see you in Beyond Light.